Good morning, class.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good
Good
morning,
morning,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
So any questions so far with regard to historical ecology, everyone?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am. Okay. So I'm just assuming that the concept is clear to all of you. Um, my
Excuse me,
primary
ma'am.
yes.
Sorry to interrupt, ma'am. Just one question, ma'am. Like both political ecology and historical ecology were formulated by or were like given by Eric Wolf only, right?
No, 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 not historical ecology. Just
Okay, ma'am.
political ecology was something which was propounded by Eric Wolf. But
Okay,
as
ma'am.
far as historical ecology is concerned, historical ecology again is something which was a group effort. So it will be, some of it can be attributed to, there was an anthropologist called Bailey, Ball. Okay, so it's like there were a couple of them, but Bailey was the one who proposed the four assumptions. So he is one person, but there were several others who were talking about historical ecology. So you can actually not put a finger on one person. Like in case of political ecology, you can clearly say that it was Eric Wolf who had started with the idea of political ecology. Okay, but that's not the case with historical.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, just a moment. I was just shifting my device actually. Yeah. So I was saying with regard to historical ecology that there are actually many other types of ecology that were propounded. There was spiritual ecology and many other kinds. But the primary intention of mentioning historical ecology is because Franz Boas and other anthropologists had also given this idea of historical particularism, which was prominent in the field of ecology again. Anyway, so what I was trying to say is that when you look at both political ecology and historical ecology, you will understand that both political and historical talk about human um, developments and significant human decisions which have had an impact on the ecology. In case of political ecology, the significant human decisions primarily remain restricted to the idea of policy. But in case of historical ecology, it is just mere day to day survival, which is seen to have significant impact in the area of ecology. Um, and that is why human agency becomes very significant. Now, it is something, historical ecology is also something that has been found to be in consonance with archaeology, because archaeologists have been concerned with how human settlements have altered the environment and what kind of relics has it left behind. And it is because of this that historical ecologists and cultural geographers have focused on the landscaping of a particular topography. And the landscaping of the particular topography means that suppose you look at the Indus Valley ruins, and when you look at the Indus Valley ruins, you are able to understand, oh, where is the citadel, where are the people living inside the houses. There will be some generalized structures that will come out, like within the household landscaping, you will often find kitchen being in the same direction for almost every house. You will often find the places for attending to nature's call being outside the house. And this is something, this kind of landscape is something which has been standardized in some way or the other. Even today, in case of India, if you look at the apartments made by government bodies, and if you look at the apartments made by non-government bodies, you will be able to understand the difference between the two. Yes or no? Can you tell me if there is any landscaping standardization there?
Ma'am, so the buildings or houses made by the government, like, can we take an example of all the quarters and all that they make? Because
Of
I think
course, of course, of course.
so, ma'am, there is, I would say, like they all of these buildings and all that, if they are in, so the balcony would be in same direction for that matter. And ma'am,
Everything, there
also,
will be a
yes,
standard
ma'am,
structure. Like
yes, ma'am.
in case of if you just look at Delhi and you look at Delhi Development Authority quarters that have been given to officials. Okay, you go and look at the quarters that have been made for more than 60 years, 50 years. Okay, if you go and look at it, and especially those kind of quarters that have been made for let's just say railway officials. If there is anyone who would know railway colonies in Delhi, I don't know, but all across the railway colonies everywhere, I have found that there is a standardization in terms of how they look very British in their structure. And if you move out from railway colonies and suppose you go to hospitals and hospital colonies where doctors have been provided residences, interestingly, the houses that have been built or the quarters that have been built 40, 50 years before, they will have an outhouse, they will have a servant's quarter, they will have a driver's quarter, and all of it will be there for the doctor. If you look at an IS's house, again, government accommodation, even today, if you go to a civil servant's house in a small area, you will actually find that there is a quarter for them, and adjoining that quarter is an agricultural piece of land where the collector can actually put few landless laborers on work, and put them as tenants on his field, and this way he can ensure that even if there is no means to pay, he can ensure some kind of subsistence for that. And that is the kind of landscaping. Now if you go looking for a civil servant's house here, then in that case you will find a different kind of landscaping because it is a metropolitan, so the landscaping is going to be different. Are you getting my point, all of you? So keeping that in perspective, you will realize that it is a area which is of interest for cultural geographers. It is an area which is of interest for archaeologists. It is an area which is of interest for ecologists as well. Because if a particular piece of land has been converted into a residential place, what is it that has had impact, maximum impact else, in various places? That is something which is of significance for everyone. Are you getting my point, everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Any questions so far?
No, ma'am.
What about the rest of the class?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. So, historical ecology is just primarily concerned about, as I told you, how human agency is relevant. Again, I am reminding you that whenever you study about human agency and nature, you should really look into George Perkins Marsh. Okay, you should really look into his work, um, Man and Nature, and George Perkins Marsh has worked significantly in the early, sorry, late 19th century, which is quite old, but he was actually a diplomat, okay, and he worked on the human impact of various decisions, and he worked on the impact of these human decisions and agency on nature. And then he talked about how um, this nature was something that affected. I'm just sharing the link. It's not a book that is available, of course it is for sale, but I'm just sharing it so that you remember this book. Okay, just see. This particular book was written by George Perkins Marsh, Man in Nature, and can you all see the link?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
this
ma'am.
this particular work is also known as a work of physical geography, again a work of cultural geography, again a work of ecology and environmental sciences. Okay, and here again human agency is something which is very very important. Okay, so this person was a diplomat, okay, and he actually tried to look at how human beings had affected the various ways in which um, they had impacted their natural flora and fauna. Now, George Perkin Marsh is, there is a brief news article which I am going to be linking again. Yeah. Just see if it is visible at your end or not, because I somehow don't get to know if the chat is working fine or not. It tends to change the order in which I've sent things.
It's visible, ma'am.
Okay. So basically, George Perkins's work is something that you should know briefly. I'm not saying that you should know the entire thing, but you should know it briefly. Now, the last topic which I wanted to do is basically on applied anthropology and its impact on ecology and its field of the field of ecology. Okay,
Excuse me,
so
ma'am.
yes.
Ma'am, can you tell us in a brief, like what had George Perkinson Marsh said in the lecture that you have sent the link for?
Okay. This particular lecture is something which is just something which is available, readily available Jay, so I've sent it. But George Perkins Marsh's work is something which is very significant in the field of environmental studies, in the field of ecology, only because, uh, the central argument that he said was that human beings have the capacity to actually change the geography of a place. Okay, now that doesn't mean that they are always um, destructive, or they are always based on the idea of changing it for the worst, but many times it is also for the better. And that is why yesterday I showed you very a brief example, two three examples about how human beings have also contributed to constructing the climate, to constructing, um, the ecology of a place. And how have they done that? They have not, yesterday when I was showing you small video clips about the man who was replanting majuli, or when I was talking to you about the couple Anil Malhotra and his wife um, planting Sai National Forest, I was basically not trying to tell you that, oh, they took a conscious, effort to plant specific kind of trees and create a specific kind of forest. No, what they did was human agency was at play, where they took a decision that they want to restore the ecology of the place where they wish to live in. And in doing so, they wanted to, introduce the native species, the native variety of a place. And they did not take any special effort. They just conserved the place from any outside interference. And as you can understand, again, I go back for the millionth time to the example of lockdown. There were so many small video clippings that were released at the time of lockdown, stating how some of the most rare species that were thought to be extinct or endangered had come out and about, and they were strolling literally on the roads, and they were literally introducing themselves, out in the public, that they had survived the human interference. So if you think about it from that perspective, then these people were just trying to say that uh, animals and plant species, the native animals and plant species, have a way of coming back. But the passage was provided by these human beings, by these enlightened beings. So, George Perkins Marsh was primarily talking about human agency in altering the face of Earth. Okay, and he said that as you realize the relationship man has with his wilderness, you realize how constantly and consistently man tries to alter his or her wilderness. Okay, and this is a continuous process. Whether it is for the good or whether it is for the worse is something which is completely based on what kind of decisions they take. It is based on what kind of needs do they associate. Now, if you look at the man who was replanting the entire Majuli area of Assam, then you will realize that, he's far sighted in his vision. The same goes for many other people. They are far sighted in their vision, where ecology and biodiversity is being affected so grossly by human activity. These are the kind of people who have decided to basically change, the direction in which they are walking, which is entirely opposite to, the way the world is working. So what prompts them to change their perspective, what prompts them to change the direction in which they are working and functioning, is something uh, that was of significance to Marsh. Is it clear? So primarily human agency. Now, When I talk about human agency, um, I don't know if you understand it or not. Um,
Mom understood.
okay, you understood. And do you understand what is human agency? Because his entire focus was on human agency only.
Mom, human agency here must refer to the uh, human beings that have been working.
No, no, no. Anyone who knows about human agency? Okay. Um, see, I will tell
Ma'am,
you.
I
Yes,
was
go
asking
ahead.
you where you said that we provide the pathway, we act as the passage.
Huh.
I think that would be a human agency thing.
Yeah, but what is human agency? What is it which is
Ma'am, does it refer to all the like all the procedures that human beings have, like all the religious and like all kinds of
no kid
institutions that
when
we have developed?
no kid when we talk about human agency, one of the best example is that patriarchy does not one of the best example is that patriarchy does not attribute for or does not associate agency with women. Okay, do you get it when I say this? Are you able to understand when I say this? Patriarchy doesn't attribute agency to women.
Kind of,
Ma
yes.
Yes, ma'am, I think where it it believes that uh, the male or the powerful people, sorry, not male, the powerful people have the more influence. Um,
Okay.
the
Vasundhara, what
activity.
were you saying?
Agency to women, that means they don't, basically patriarchy does not cater to women, and it does not have anything to do with women, and it just like although we have understood this fact that patriarchy is basically the dominance of one over the vulnerable, but it just gives the idea that that the statement itself that patriarchy does not agency with women, meaning that it does with men, which ultimately says that it gives men more power over the rest of everything. It does not account for women, basically.
Hmm. No. No, that's not it. Does not attribute. That means does not give credit to woman to having an agency. You still don't get it? Ishita, anyone who is able to get it? Stanzin, Ishita, Dipanshi, Abantika. Okay. Agency, human agency is a word that comes from psychology. Okay, and there was a psychologist with the name Albert Bandura who talked about human agency primarily. Okay, when we say that patriarchy does not attribute for human agency or agency of women, there are certain examples. Okay, in an average day-to-day life, you come across so many women who say that their father, their mother, their parents in general did not allow them to go here or there. Okay, or they did not allow them to go um, outside after sunset. Okay, then the same thing gets transferred, the woman gets married, the girl gets married, and then she says, oh, my husband doesn't allow me to go out. Okay, now if the woman gives birth to a son, and I'm just giving son as an example, that does not mean that only sons do it, but I'm just giving son as an example, and I'm just trying to explain to all of you how this particular ability. Okay, then what happens is, then if by chance she has given birth to a son, and she is dependent on the son in any way, then she is again dependent on you know his decisions for her. Okay, in all of these scenarios, the woman in no way is being given the credit of having an agency. Are you able to understand now what I'm saying?
Yes, ma'am.
What am I
No.
saying?
Ma'am, she does not have the ability to make decisions. She
Yes,
is,
she does
yes,
not
ma'am.
she does not have the ability to decide what is in her interest and what is not in her interest. Are you getting my point? So, what is happening is that she doesn't have. Am I audible?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was not able to hear anything. Yeah. So I was just saying that what happens is that whenever you look at these scenarios, you come across situations where you will find that somebody or the other is always deciding on behalf of women. Now, the example that I gave you is mostly focused on family members and the men in the family. But please note that the men in the family are not the only creatures who are intervening over the woman's decision. Decisions are being intervened with when an entire village takes decisions on behalf of a certain girl or a woman. Um, it is denial of the woman's agency when a council of ministers sit together in a local village and decide upon her destiny. It is something which is very apparent when so when we say that women become second grade citizens, I hope now you understand what human agency is. Human agency, therefore, becomes, the space. Uh, Agency refers to the human capability to influence one's functioning and one's ability to decide about the course of events by one's actions. What kind of life are they going to have based on their actions? So, it is the ability to foresee what the future holds. Okay, it is something which is very important in understanding ourselves. Okay, now the same agency is at work everywhere. There were four aspects to this idea. One was obviously intention. The second one was obviously, when we talk about intention, then we talk about what is the purpose of doing something. The second, of course, is forethought or far sight, which is very important because that tells you how the future is going to be like. Then there is the other aspect, the third aspect, which is self reactiveness. That is, we look at how our actions are going to have an impact on us, and therefore we deliberate on it. And then finally, we examine our own decisions, which is self reflexivity or self reflectiveness. Can you see all of these aspects are quite important in associating oneself with each decision? Uh, not every woman is fortunate enough to have people around her to have uh, to give her that kind of credit for being able to think. I remember long time back we had a student. I was teaching them something on gender, and she told me that she did not face any problem in her family because her father uh, decided chose to treat, you know, her brother and she equally. And I did not really have the heart to tell her that the fact that she was saying this itself was a denial of her agency, because when she said that my father does not make a difference, so basically the difference is only made when the father decides to make the difference, otherwise there's no difference. So the fact that she thought that her father had the capacity to make the difference between her brother and she, and if he did not make the difference, then there was no difference, and that she and her brother were basically the equals. uh, well, it was faulty from the very beginning, but I did not feel like telling her that because I felt that that would be something that may come across as offensive. But I just wanted to tell you that there are times when um, women say that my father has treated me like his son. Well, she doesn't need to validate her existence by saying that. She doesn't need to say that because she was, so basically she's saying that being born as a girl was not valid enough. She had to be treated like a boy to be validated as a human being. So that is not required. So these kind of things like Haryana ki beti getting medal, these kind of slogans. So if she doesn't get medal, she doesn't need any recognition, or she's a second grade citizen. So this is where agency is very important. George Perkins Marsh actually translated this concept of agency into the real world and talked about how this agency was in action constantly when human beings were making landscape based changes in their biodiversity. Now, do you get what is agency?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Dipanshi?
ma'am.
Dipanshi?
Yes.
Okay. Um, Georgian, Jay, were you able to understand what is agency?
Ma'am, a capacity of a human being to like make decisions or something.
See, I will just give you a very simple example. It is a day-to-day thing. Again, a very simple example, rather funny. Um, when I live with my best friend in this house, um, she tends to have no sense of forethought. Okay, so because she doesn't have a sense of forethought, most of the time when she's keeping things, she can't see that the moment she'll move away, that thing is going to fall, and then she'll whatever is there in that particular vessel or bowl or whatever, it will fall and she'll have to clean it. you know are you getting my point? She doesn't have that kind of planning in her mind. So every time she stuffs something somewhere, I go and check whether that thing is properly balanced, whether that thing adheres to all laws of gravity or not, because I have come across situations where something very small is kept at the bottom and something say very big is balanced on top of it. Are you getting my point? So while it sounds funny, at the same time, it has led to a lot of wastage. So one day she actually asked me that how come she makes these decisions which leads to so much of wastage of things, and why is it that she cannot actually think in those terms? So I just told her that that is because you don't have a sense of future in terms of very small decisions. You don't think that what is going to happen with my action. You don't think about the future implications, and that is why that particular, you may be very well educated, you may be very good decision maker, but then there is in some things probably your forethought is missing, your foresight is missing. You're not able to see what is the implication of your future. Are you getting my point? There are some students who come up with a very sound understanding of what they want to do in future, and they start working from a very young age. That doesn't mean that they are weird students or they are nerds. It just happens that their agency is far more developed than an average student's agency. Do you understand, Jack? So there are various aspects of making a decision. If today I decide that I want to buy a piece of property and all I want to do is grow a forest there and not do anything else in that property, well, a lot of people around me will call me an idiot for doing that. They will call me stupid for doing that. But what will be the benefit of that? If I buy a huge piece of land and I put lots of trees over there, I have created a small ecosystem for various animals and plants to live in it. And what will happen is that, it will probably give me a sense of peace, and it will probably be a safe haven when the pollution levels are rising again. So obviously the pandemic phase lockdown is over, so I can see this, and therefore just to secure my future and just to secure the future of few species, I take a decision that I want to buy a large piece of land and convert it into a forest. So that is my agency, and in no way is it destructive to earth, but at the same time it has changed the face of earth permanently. Are you getting my point?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay. Okay. Now, very briefly, we still have 10-12 minutes. I just want to tell you very quickly where applied anthropology is relevant. Now, please understand, uh, applied anthropology in ecological anthropology has been concerned with one central idea. Um, the idea concerns ethics. Okay. Um, when we talk about ethics, applied anthropology intends to focus on whether science should be free of any ethics, or should it work for specific ethical conclusions. Okay, so this means that should it work with ethics, or should it work with a long term foresight which will lead to ethical solutions? Are you getting the difference? Uh, Now, I will explain it to you. Uh, we believe, as human beings, we believe that man deserves respect once it has died. Okay? The body of the man should not be disrespected in any way. Right? Am I right? Am I wrong?
I'm right.
Right,
Okay?
ma'am.
We
Yes,
believe.
ma'am.
Ma'am, when they have died.
Yeah,
Ma'am, when they have died, that's when. Okay.
I'm just saying that if an individual has not been given respect, then suppose that individual was a criminal or whatever, we still believe in ethical disposal of their dead, okay, of their dead person. The reason for that is that we believe that if not in one's life, then at least in one's death should a human being be accorded their well deserved respect. Are you getting my point?
Yes, ma'am.
In no way am I
Yes,
saying that uh, you need to disrespect humans when they're alive. All I'm trying to say that even the most hardened of the criminals are given their final respect right before they suppose they have been given capital punishment, and right before they are about to die, they are given all the regard, where they are asked what their last wish is, their death wishes, and all of that. It is an attempt of the human society to not, become all animal like and cannibalistic for that matter. Because if you look at animals, then what do animals do? That a lion who had like a couple of lionesses as his partner, as soon as the lion ages and is about to die, the same lionesses who may have been his partner and who may have commanded a lot of respect in the forest will eat him. Okay, will kill him and eat him. Well, we believe that as human beings we are somewhat different from the animal kingdom. We must accord our last respects and the last dignity when the person is dying, and that is our final farewell from the human society to that person. Now, keeping that in mind, what do you have to say about the ethics of medical science, where um, cadavers are studied? What do you have to say about that? Is it ethical? Keeping this fact in mind, is it ethical that cadavers are studied? Human cadavers?
No, ma'am.
Yes.
no.
Yes. What about the other students?
Ma'am, even I think that even postmortem is not
Even even
ethical.
even postmortem, from that point of view, even postmortem is not ethical, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Even cadaver study, human cadaver study is not ethical from that point of view. Because see, the cadavers in medical science colleges are, what are they? They are basically bodies that have not been claimed by families, right? They are unclaimed bodies, or they are the bodies that have been donated, right? That have been donated by the family for the advancement of medical science and research. Okay, like a lot of um, people who believe in the advancement of medical science, they generally write in their will that they would like to donate their dead body for the study and for the advancement of medical sciences. So many people have this as their last wish. So that's okay. But most of the bodies that are supplied to medical colleges are those unclaimed bodies nobody comes to claim, and then they are put for research. Okay. Now, that doesn't mean that these bodies have not been, how do I say, that doesn't mean that these bodies have not been given their last respects once the work is done. But at the same time, if you think about it, it doesn't seem very respectful from the point of view of ethics, how we see it. But it is required that we study it. So where does ethic come? Okay, so in the same way, a ecology raises the question of ethics when they talk about how ethics should be used while doing research, or should research be free of ethics, and should we carry on with the research, because after all, research would mean saving the lives of so many, which is an ethical thing to do. So what is it that we should be looking at? What is it that we should be prioritizing? Okay, so many scientists have used this argument and applied it to their researches to solve human problems. They say that science must be value free, so that we are able to learn more and more um, about, um, you know the ways of the world and the mysteries of the world, and this will actually help us in solving so many problems of the world today, that it is very important that we overlook ethics somewhere or the other. Now, these are matters that have been debated in the same manner. uh, you know um, Anthropologists have believed that one should avoid, you know hurting one's respondents. Okay, it is not nice to do that. So anthropologists avoid betraying the confidence of their respondents. They do not publish sensitive material recklessly. They take explicit permission, and then they use pseudonyms, that is alternative names or fake names, to address to the problem after the code of ethics has been applied. Now, how is it relevant to ecology? Well, in the same manner, there are so many things which political ecology concerns with, which directly attack the aspect of ethics. Are you getting my point, all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So, keeping all of that in mind, applied anthropology has also raised several pertinent questions for, ecologists, especially with ecological policy building, and that is what I wanted to. That is what I wanted you all to understand. Okay, is it clear, all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay, I'll take your attendance now. Okay, Abantika, please turn on your video. Abantika, Akshat, Ankur, Dipanshi.
Present, ma'am.
Okay, Abantika, I can see you. Akshat, I could not see you. Ankur,
Present,
Present,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Dipanshi, Divya. Divya,
Present, ma'am.
Present, ma'am. Present.
Georgian,
Present,
Georgian,
ma'am.
Ishita,
Present, ma'am.
Jay, Karan.
Present, ma'am.
Okay. Neha, Priyanka, and Ritika.
Yes, ma'am. Present,
Present,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Samaksh. Yes,
Rukmini,
I can see you, Priyanka.
ma'am, am I visible?
Yes, yes, you are. Ritika, you are visible as well. Samaksh stands in. Vasundhara.
Present, ma'am.
Vipul and Vishnu.
Present, ma'am.
Am I visible, ma'am?
Yes, you are. Okay. Okay, so thank you. I'll stop
Ma'am, did
here.
you call out my name?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Ma'am, let me just. I actually got
Ma'am,
disconnected.
there is some technical issue in my camera. I don't know why I couldn't on,
Okay.
but I'm there.
Okay,
Yes,
no
ma'am.
Ma'am,
issues.
can you see me?
Yes, I can. Okay, so I'm
Okay,
stopping
ma'am.
here. And we'll begin with the presentations, I think, from the